Well, you had your wife, you had my mother. And that's something you had. That's wonderful. You had a relationship that began when you were a teenager and ended when you died, because she took care of you and came to visit you till the very, very end, until you didn't even know who she was anymore. She kept you alive till the last moment. But I don't have that kind of relationship with anybody. So that kind of sense of longing, the intense feelings are there. Look at all that violence that came out. Violence, strong needs. What about the difference between creative aggression and violence? Gestalt therapy. Creative aggression is aggression tied to action. Is part of poetry. Expressing it is poetic language. Whereas violence that comes out without any connection to action is not poetry, it's melodrama. So let's say in this dream work, sure, there was violence that killed all the people. And yet, because it's happening as part of an explosion of emotions, as part of a story, my personal story as a poetic action here, so it's poetry. It's just one beat of a dialectical unfolding of my life, my story, my logos, the word, as me as a Merkava, me as a vessel for the word. So I'm telling, it's storytelling. It's just simply a violent chapter, an explosive chapter of a story, but it's not violence. It's creative aggression because it's a part of poetic action. Dealing with grief, dealing with exploding feelings, dealing with frustrations. So you sense now that the theory of the drama, the theory of poetry, the therapy, the theology, they're all part of this one process, dialectical action here, and it's all inductive action, starting with awareness, working on identifications and contact moments here, and awareness, and becoming the things, and going into the beats one after the other, and working my way up the spiral, inductive logic, and that makes it storytelling. Where rather than just telling a story about some murders, some cops, some robbers, some sadistic stuff happening in the movies. Here it's a personal story, not just violence as for violence's sake. Watching some stupid James Bond movie or something like that. Where the violence itself and using the media, exploiting the media to give people shocks and everything, that's just serving to sell tickets. But it's not serving to tell the story of human life and human needs. It's not conveying the movement of angels up the ladder, returning to oneness and finding peace by integrating the elements of our existence and in a big monadology and a big. What comes to mind again is what Walter Benjamin says about the hero of a story It's not a saint in the usual sense. It's a person who's doing everyday actions that somehow finds himself doing saintly things because of just being involved in the overall reality of the situation. So dealing with my father here, wished to get him to say goodbye to him, to give him peace and to give myself peace from that relationship. That's now, if I could relate that to Nachman of Breslov, comes to mind is the idea of the shepherd. I talked about that already. The shepherd, or the Moses teaching the little children that cry out to each of these elements here is like the books that were unfolding from the box of the library. In the library here, where each of these elements I identified with are found in the dream. Each of these little monad, that little child, a voice, a gestalt, the side of the reality here that needs to somehow find its shepherd, encompassing idea, to bring it, to integrate it, move it up towards sense of overall balance, justice. For example, the justice here in my relationship with my father, there was pain, there was anger, there was guilt, disappointments, at the same time unrewarded love. That situations, circumstances prevented from being expressed fully enough. So somehow to integrate all of those little children here, all those voices, all those parts of the action, into one big statement, word, story.
A villager who went to town every year on the high holy days to pray in the Baal Shem Tov synagogue had a son who was so slow-witted that he could not even learn the Hebrew alphabet, much less a single prayer. And because the boy knew nothing, his father never brought him to town for the holidays. Yet when the boy reached the age of 13 and became responsible for his deeds, his father decided to take him along on the Day of Atonement, lest he stay at home and in his ignorance eat on the holy fast day. And so they set out together, and the boy, who had a little shepherd's pipe on which he piped to his sheep, pocketed it, unbeknownst to his father. In the middle of the service, the boy suddenly said, "Father, I want to play my pipe." The horrified father scolded his son and told him to behave himself. A while later, though, the boy said again, "Father, please let me play my pipe." Again his father scolded him, warning him not to dare. Yet soon the boy said a third time, "Father, I don't care what you say, I must play my pipe." "Where is it?" asked the father, seeing the boy was uncontrollable. The boy pointed to the pocket of his jacket, and his father seized it and gripped it firmly. And so the hours passed, with the man holding on to his son's pocket until the sun was low in the sky and the gates of heaven began to shut, and it was time for the final prayer of the day. Halfway through the closing prayer, the boy wrenched the pipe free from his pocket and his father's hands, put it in his mouth, and let out a loud blast that startled the entire congregation. As soon as the Baal Shem Tov heard it, he hurried through the rest of the service as he had never done before. And afterwards he told the worshippers, "When this little babe played his pipe, all your prayers soared heavenward at once, and there was nothing left for me to do but finish up."